Sky, they built a glass paradise way too high. Then the bubble pop, the silent sound of foreclosure signs are all over town. I got a bad loan, a promise they believe. Now the dream is over, they're feeling deceived. I watch from the sidelines, patient and cool, playing by a different set of rules. All I wanna do is, and I can do is take the window. All I wanna do is, and I'll cash your heart and watch the funds grow. This is straight up capitalism, chip, chip, boom. Sweeping up the pieces with the concrete boom. When I do, when I do, when I do. Get a call from my contact, a whisper on the phone. Another empty unit, the speculator is gone. He says a shame with a crocodile tear as he sells me their future for a fraction of last year. The paperwork's easy, a cash only deal. That heartbreak and panic is my next big steal. They get a cardboard box, I get the ocean view. It's nothing personal, it's just what I do. And I catch your body, take your condo. And I catch your body and watch the dance. This is straight up capitalism, chick, chick, boom. Sweeping up the pieces with the concrete broom. When I do wrong, when I do wrong, when I do. Some myself ask for a quick return. Some I rent out, let the lesson burn. They call it a crisis, I call it a sale. In this concrete jungle, the strongest prevail. No funny business, I am the business. They sold you a lead, now I'm the witness. Seek your condo.
Happy Thursday, Miami. This is Condo Capitalism, a distress real estate podcast about Miami-Dade, Broward, Palm Beach counties, which together make up the Tri-County South Florida region. Today, instead of speaking about the distress market, we're actually going to do a deep dive into the Hallandale Beach, Hollywood condo market. That's the part in Southeast Broward County, just north of Aventura, just north of Sunny Hills Beach. We're going to do a deep dive. This is a large condo market, ton of units, and also a lot of vintage units. These are the units that are at least 30 years old or older. During the course of the next half an hour to 48 minutes, I'm going to dig into and dive into and help you understand what's going on in Southeast Broward County, a county market that is focused on and had benefited for quite some time from the Canadian snowbird, the same people who are now annoyed with the United States, annoyed with the state of Florida because of all of the talk from the White House administration about a 51st state and Florida Governor Ron DeSantis saying, we don't need your business. We can make up with it elsewhere. Thus far, it hasn't necessarily worked out that way, but we're going to dig into what's going on in Hollywood, Hallandale Beach. I'm Peter Zalewski, condo consultant, expert witness, founder of the Miami Condo Investing Club. Every weekday I go live at 4 o'clock and we're talking condos. On Thursdays, we talk about the distressed condo market typically, but because we're halfway through the summer buying season, which goes from May through October, we decided we're going to do a deep dive. We've already looked at Greater Downtown Miami. We looked at downtown West Palm Beach Island. We looked at Boca Raton, both downtown as well as the beach. And we also took a look at what was going on, or what we are going to take a look at is what's going on in eventually Miami Beach, but we also did downtown Fort Lauderdale Beach, downtown Fort Lauderdale and the beach. So hitting on two key markets in each county to give you some perspective as to what's going on. What are we seeing so far? Greater Downtown Miami, not good. West Palm Beach Island, very, very, very good. Boca Raton, Fort Lauderdale, Hollywood, Hallandale, what's going on there? It's kind of a mixed market. It's a mixed market if you look at our Hollywood, Hallandale Beach Condo Cliff Index, which tracks active listings, pending sales, as well as pricing, and gives you real-time analysis of what's going on in the marketplace. Not looking at closed sales data. Closed sales data is the past. More so looking at what's going on a real-time basis for each of these individual markets like Hollywood, Hallandale. What we do is we update it monthly. For the Tri-County area, countywide basis, we do it weekly in order to give you some sort of perspective. The idea is as the index goes up, that means advantage seller. As the index goes down, advantage buyer. But because Hollywood, Hallandale is such a key market in Broward County, we figure we'd do a deep dive and help you get an understanding halfway through the summer buying season as to what's going on in that marketplace. So I should tell you, you're watching this live. As a result, you're going to see everything for free. Everything's readily available. So as the podcast's over, we're going to edit it for sound, for template. Then after that, we'll make it available on demand, but it'll be exclusive for members of the Miami Condo Investing Club. So if you are a DIY buyer trying to do it on your own, do it yourself. Maybe you're a buyer working with a broker and you want to understand more. Maybe you're a listing agent, can't sell a unit. Could be a lender, putting money on the street. Maybe you're a regulator, whether you're in Orlando, Tallahassee, Washington, D.C., trying to understand what's going on in our condo market, which is one of the most sophisticated in the entire United States. Maybe you're a gadfly. You could be curious. Anybody and everybody is welcome. Join the Miami Condo Investing Club, where you're going to get straightforward information. No Chamber of Commerce talk. No sell-side hyperbole. We'll give you the data. We'll tell you straight what's going on. You take that information. You do whatever it is you want to do with it. And we should bust of it, because what we say, it doesn't matter if the market's going up, market's going down. As long as there's some transparency, there's some reliable numbers out there. Ultimately, there are deals to be had, and people are trading condo units. They're always going to trade condo units in South Florida. 760,000 units. By the way, 67% of those 760,000 condos, they are vintage units, at least 30 years old or older. That means less than 1/3 of the units are going to be modern units. Modern units are up to 29 years old. What happens at year 30? Well, mandatory inspections are required, called a milestone inspection. That is a deep dive inspection in which a licensed architect, a licensed engineer is going to go in there. They're going to assess the building. They're going to give you, give the condo board some sort of idea in terms of shelf life, what is the lifespan of all of the critical components, then turn over their report to numbers people who assigned a dollar amount. That combined report, they put a bow on it. They give it to the condo board. And as of 2026, condo association boards have to adopt it. They have to begin to fund it and raise the cash, whether special assessments through reserves or they need to take out a loan. If they take out a loan, they're looking at interest rates of 9, 10, 11, 12%. Chances are coming from private money. If they decide to hit everybody with special assessment, typically give them 12 months to pay. People don't pay, they could face foreclosure at the end of that year. Whether they do it, whether they don't do it, that's sort of up for discussion. But these are just the general parameters. And if you do get hit with a special assessment, our best guesstimate, that building's up to 4 stories, call it $25,000 per unit. If the building is 5 to 14 stories, call it a $65,000 per unit special assessment. And if the building 15 stories or more, that's $100,000, generally speaking, in terms of what each individual unit owner will be responsible to pay. If you were a buyer taking a look at this, what I would tell you, given the current market conditions, which is a buyer's market, seller's going to take a haircut. They're going to have to take the hit on the special assessment on the way out. So the way you view a special assessment should be, it's a haircut for the seller and advantage to the buyer. Talking about the overall climate of the market, advantage buyer. Remember those FOMO days when everybody was rushing to get in and there were multiple offers coming over and above the asking price? Those days are gone. A lot of those people who bought in 2021, 2022, 2023 when they came to South Florida because, remember, we had the pandemic. What was going on at the time? Florida Governor Ron DeSantis said, all those big bad blue states that were mandating mask requirements. You come to Florida, you don't have to wear a mask. Wall Street, Silicon Valley, big corporations in the United States, they said you can work from home. A lot of people picked up, they moved to South Florida. One of the things that might have pushed them over the edge is in Miami Beach, they permitted people to go to Ocean Drive and get on a police car and twerk to their heart's content. As a result, we saw a big run up in sales, big run up in pricing, and you know where we are now? We're coming down back to reality. Something called gravity. So that's what we're going to get into right now at Hollywood and Hallandale. Let me go ahead. I'm going to share some screens. We'll walk you through it. We'll give you some perspective as to that Hollywood Hallandale Beach marketplace. Probably the best place to start, though, I would tell you, is let's take a real quick gander at what is Hollywood Hallandale Beach and how we are tracking it. So I'm gonna pull that up real quick, and I'm gonna share my screen with you, and then we will get started. Here we go. Bear with me, everybody. Boom. Here we go. All right, perfect. All right, let me share my screen, and then we'll get into it. Here we go. Everybody's seeing that particular map, and you're seeing exactly what we are looking at. Let me focus on my layout. There we go. All right, so what do we got going on here? Let's sort of, we're going to zoom out, give everybody a glimpse. All right, so we got West Palm Beach up here to the north in Palm Beach County. We got Miami down here to the south in Miami-Dade County, originally called Dade. Now it's called Miami-Dade County. Brilliant branding by the county commission. And in between, we got Broward County. Generally speaking, the way to sort of look at this marketplace is if you have money, chances are you're going to Palm Beach County. If you're domestic oriented, you're more risk adverse, you're more, let's say, I'm not going to say stuffy, but a little bit more conservative, if you will. If you are a gunslinger, if you're somebody looking to rock and roll and do have all kinds of fun, and international oriented, you're going to Miami-Dade County. Broward County is going to be the place where a lot of people who basically work in either county, that's where they live. That's where they live. Now, Hallandale is going to be in Southeast Broward County, just north of Aventura, just north of Sunny Hills Beach, which are both in Miami-Dade County. And there, you're going to find a whole stock, a variety of units that are all built quite some time ago. A lot of them built in the 70s and the 80s. Remember, Florida condo law came online 1963, and one of the boom eras was Hollywood and Hallandale. This is the time of retirees. You guys ever see that TV show? Maybe late at night you can't sleep, or you're looking for reruns on YouTube. TV show called, I'm blanking now. Golden Girls. Golden Girls. They all moved down to Florida. They're doing their thing. That was kind of the era. This was the era when most people lived in a single-family house. In order to get them in a condo, they had to offer special creature comforts. That's when they created the over 55 community, kind of make it available for those people who want to live in one of these condo complexes. They didn't want to have to deal with children and everything else. And the over 55 community really sort of took off. You know where they built a lot of them? Hollywood, Hallandale. As a result, we got a lot of old stock in Hollywood, Hallandale. And as mentioned, every year, Canadians would typically drive down, those people coming from Quebec, the province of Quebec, whether it be Montreal, Quebec City, anything like that. They drive down Interstate 95. They ultimately get off on Hallandale Beach Boulevard or maybe Hollywood Boulevard. They head east and they end up in a beachfront condo. They were reasonably priced, gave access to the sand. There were all kinds of restaurants that popped up, like Montreal smoked meat, which is very common up there. Been to Montreal. I love the smoked meat. Maybe there was the Dairy Bell over in Dania Beach, which is effectively a Canadian ice cream joint right there on Federal Highway, just south of Dania Beach Boulevard. And you could also get the poutine, which is a French fry combination with like sauce on it and meat and bacon and all kinds of stuff. So a real big component, a real big circle of Canadians, especially people coming from Quebec, the Quebecers, if you will. They were all coming down here. They were stalwarts. They, if you look at the Miami Association Realtor numbers, typically Canadians represent, I don't know, somewhere in 10% of the foreign investors in South Florida. That was up until President Donald Trump came in and said that Canada ought to join the United States and be the 51st state. Pissed off a lot of Canadians, and as a result, got into a little bit of a pissing match. There's terrorists being hit on the Canadians by the United States, and a lot of Canadians are saying, we're not coming. We're just not coming. You don't want our business. You don't respect us. Kind of piss off. And that's what's happening now. So this is all contributing to what we're going through right now in South Florida. We just passed the 5-year anniversary of the Surfside condo collapse. It happened on June 24th, 2021. Nearly 100 people died. $1 billion settlement paid out to the families of the victims. As a result of that, the insurance industry lobbied the legislature, made a bunch of changes related to transparency. One part of the transparency is for unit owners as well as prospective buyers to get their hands on all the information so they know what they're living in. The other component is these studies. I mentioned the 30-year inspection called a milestone inspection. And after a building goes into a milestone inspection category, we call it vintage. That's why I say an old building. Well, there's also an inspection due every 10 years. It's called the Structural Integrity Reserve Study. So now, as part of living in a condo in Florida, that means every 10 years you're getting a study done. Year 10 is a Structural Integrity Reserve Study, or a SIRS. Year 20, a SIRS. Year 30, milestone inspection. Year 40 will be a SIRS, but it'll combine all the other things. So it just keeps going on and on. But basically, every 10 years, you got a special assessment coming down the pike right now in order to avoid a Surfside repeat. Remember, everybody, Champlain Towers, when it went down, it was 40 years old over on 8700 of Collins Avenue in the Barrier Island, Miami-Dade County. The state is trying to get ahead of that, and they're trying to avoid it. And as a result, they're hitting everybody with these inspection requirements, which are leading to special assessments. So we got rising maintenance fees. We got hefty special assessments. We all know about the pricey insurance. So the cost of condo living has gotten very expensive, even in a place with vintage condos like Hollywood, Hallandale. So it's a perfect opportunity to go in there and take a look at it. So let's show you a little bit of the map so you guys get a better sense. This is going to be Miami down here. You guys can see this would be Key Biscayne. That's going to be Miami Beach going all the way up the coast. Then you will see Aventura. You see Sunny Isles Beach. There's Surfside. That's when the tower went down. See Fort Lauderdale to the north. Then we got Dania Beach. Then we got Hollywood, and we got Hallandale Beach. So it's going to be this general area here between Aventura and Fort Lauderdale. If you were looking for a landmark, then sort of try to figure it out, think Fort Lauderdale Hollywood International Airport going all the way south to the Miami-Dade County line. So let me show you where that is. Here we go. Here's Aventura. This is going to be Golden Beach. And as you guys go up, you'll have Gulfstream. Where's Gulfstream? Let me find that here. It's Johnson Street. Brightline Aventura. So it should be right around here. And one little tidbit. Here we go. Golf course, 3 islands. So Gulfstream is going to be right here. Well, it's weird that they don't really show it any better. So Gulfstream is right here. About 213 or so is basically where the county line is. So for this discussion, we are going to be looking at the Atlantic Ocean. We're going to go west to Federal Highway in Broward County, Biscayne Boulevard in Miami-Dade County. We're not going all the way I-95 because most of this is all single-family house and duplexes. So we're going to focus on the condos, which are all concentrated here. So they will effectively be concentrated from the racetrack, which is about here, Gulfstream, and it's actually in Broward County and in Hallandale. And just to give you testament of how big of an influence Canadians have up there, Gulfstream is owned by a family out of Canada, just to give you perspective. Now we go all the way north, and you guys are going to see Fort Lauderdale Hollywood International Airport. And here we'll have US 1, which is Federal Highway in Broward County, and Biscayne Boulevard in Miami-Dade County. So this is basically the area we're going to be checking out. And I thought that would be interesting to give you kind of that perspective. Let's zoom out a little bit just to give you even more perspective. You guys know exactly where it is. So let me stop sharing my screen. Probably the best place to start, I think, with this presentation is let's go ahead and take a look at where does the, what's going on so far in the summer buying season. Summer buying season will go from May. It'll go through to October. Typically, there's 2 seasons in South Florida, condo market, the way we look at it. You got the winter buying season when you got all the events going on. That'll go from November through April. That's when people come here. They come here for an event. They come here for vacation. They come here to go on a cruise. While they're here, they get the bug. They like South Florida. They decide to take a look, maybe buy a condo, to retire, maybe relocate, maybe an investment. They look, they submit offers. And if you're submitting an offer now, you need to lowball. Market's giving way. Buyers have the advantage. This is an opportunity where sellers are heading for the exit, so you need to lowball. So casual buyer, they don't come as a buyer per se. They come here, they become a buyer. Search for a property, they finally get under contract after some negotiations, some stops and starts, and typically they end up closing now in the summer buying season, which goes from May through October. Summer buying season is typically recognized by heat, humidity, hurricane warnings. Typically it's the wet season. So we got the wet and we got the dry. Typically the summer is when a lot of deals close, and those deals which weren't initiated during the winter in the dry, they are going to be deals being done by locals and or those people who are really looking for a discount. Less buyers in the marketplace. We were told coming into this summer buying season, we were told by developers, we were told by the sell side industry, what you were going to see is the World Cup was going to bring all kind of people to town. And as a result, it was going to save our condo market, which is in a buyer's market, 10 months of suppliers. So throughout the Tri-County area, based on a study I just did for our August 2026 monthly meeting, which was held on yesterday. So in terms of looking at what the World Cup was supposed to do, it was supposed to bring in all these people and did it. Yes, it brought in people. There was a 6-week tournament. Miami hosted 7 matches, including the 3rd place match. Had England and France. We had every country here. We had Norway playing here versus England. We had Uruguay. We had Argentina. We had Colombia. We had Portugal. We had Cape Verde. They were here. Everybody was here. 450,000 tickets were sold at Hard Rock Stadium, located up there in Miami Gardens. It used to be called Joe Robbie Pro Player. It's now called Hard Rock Stadium. And you know what happened to condo sales? They fell. Pending sales actually went down. Why? Affordability. People get here, they see how expensive it is right now. They say, I don't know if I necessarily want to do it. Might be cheaper to rent. I had a friend come visit the opening weekend of the World Cup. She stayed over at Mary Brickell Village, Greater Downtown Miami. Right there, like I said, Mary Brickell Village, brand new, newer hotel, 5 years old or so. $120 a night. That's what she was dropping the opening weekend of the World Cup. So I don't know how much money was spent. I think the people who did come here, they were sort of squeezing their pennies. Why? Because the tickets were so expensive. There was a match between Colombia and Portugal. They wanted $3,800 per seat. Who knows where it was? And it wasn't a good one. You wanted the park. You wanted to drive to the stadium and park. $250. No tailgating. So as the price gouging was going on, I don't think a lot of people actually moved forward and bought condos or looked at them. Now, they might come back 2 years from now. Maybe they fell in love with it. Maybe some of the Scottish who came here, the Tartan Army, maybe some of them who were partying over in Cayocho and Little Havana at Ball and Chain. And then they marched all the way over to Marlins ballpark in order to see the Miami Marlins baseball team. Maybe some of them are coming back, but how are you going to know? When are you going to know? I'm sure we'll have some developers telling us, though, that the World Cup was great. But in terms of immediate reaction, no, didn't do a thing. And let's show you the numbers that kind of back that up for there. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to share my screen. And these numbers will be for Hollywood, Hallandale. And keep in mind, a lot of the teams actually stayed in Broward County. Typically, whenever there's an event going on, one team will stay in Miami-Dade County, the other team stays in Broward. Like when there's NFL, if there's a college football championship, any of that type of stuff, they typically split it. So both counties can work in unison. They both sort of get to wet their beak on one of the deals that are out there. So let's pull up the World